Good afternoon. My name is Brian. I'm pastor Converge Church here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is 7 to 9 minutes in the letter of James. The webpage for Converge Church is convergechurchomaha.org. Convergechurchomaha.org. Final softball update. We did play a couple nights ago. We had to win 3 games to take the league championship, and that's exactly what we did. And so my team is the league championship, the Nebraska Senior Softball League. I think there's 15, 16 teams, so we're very happy to kind of have a, a league and a season during this COVID-19. And so I'll be able to heal up this winter, focus on racquetball, getting in shape for next spring, then for softball again. But glad to win it all. But we're here to talk about James in the New Testament. And today we're going to focus on verses 19 and 20 in chapter 1. We're working our way through this chapter. And let me read those verses 19 and 20. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness that God requires. And so we're going to focus on listening, speaking. We're going to look at anger. I mean, there's so much anger in our society, but among Christians, among those who follow Jesus, we should be known for our love, our kindness, our patience, our joy, rather than anger. We have an election next Tuesday, and there's so much anger leading up to the election, and who knows what will happen after the election. We need to pray for our nation. But among Christians, we are to be known for our love before the election, during the election, and then after the election as well. Um, this New Testament letter, James, very very practical. That's why I love it. It just cuts to the chase, and that's exactly what he's going to do here, 19 and 20. So in verse 19, he starts out with the words "Know this." It's an imperative mood. It's a command to know, to comprehend. What are we to know? Well, let every person be quick to hear. So we are to be good listeners. We're to make listening a priority. We're to make good eye contact. We're not to be ones who interrupt others while they're in mid sentence. I used to be notorious for doing that, and I've worked hard not to do that anymore. And so know this: let every person be quick to hear, and then slow to speak. Slow to speak. Don't be in a hurry to speak. Resist that urge to jump in with your opinion or your thoughts. Resist the urge to one up the other person. We guys are like to do this. We have a You have a story, I got a better story, and I can't wait to tell you my story. Don't be like that. It's not a competition. So be good, active listeners. Put some restraint in our words. Allow the other person to talk to us, and we engage with them with their eyes and a sentence every once in a while. And so know this: let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and then slow to anger. Um, don't be quick tempered. Often when we are quick tempered, it's very selfish. It's a anger from the world, from Satan, rather from God. And again, there's so much anger in our society, but Christians are to be in sharp contrast to the world. When the world is mad, and it's mad now, well, Christians, we are to stay calm. We're to, when we're angry, it shows a lack of trust in God, and it shows a lack of love towards others. And so when Christ is in us, and sorry about the phone call in the background there, when Christ is in us, um, it's very possible to be people peace, people who are not lashing out in anger. Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." And so that's verse 19. Then verse 20, it says that, let me read that for you. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness that God requires. Our anger is in contrast to God's righteousness. Our anger will not achieve God's righteous purpose. Our anger can actually hinder God's purpose. Our anger can damage our Christian witness. Our our anger can cause others to turn their back to Christ. Now remember that James is addressing Christians here, and so he's addressing the church. And so Christians are to be again um, quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God that He requires. And so, angry outburst against other Christians has no place in the church. And I've been a pastor now for almost 36 years, and you want to throw in my youth ministry, it's about 40 years now, and I've just seen Christians just lose it in church, and there's no place for that. There's no place. James is going to talk more about this later in chapter 1, where verse 26, if anyone thinks he's religious and does not bridle his tongue, but he deceives his heart, that person's religion is worthless. So our very words can cancel out our Christianity. And then in almost the entire chapter 3, James is going to talk about taming the tongue and just how dangerous our words can be towards others. So we're going to come back to this subject. And so let us speak words of healing. Let us speak words of encouragement. Let us be a good listener. And again, this election is just around the corner. It's Friday. The election is next Tuesday. Angry people may erupt on social media, maybe in the streets. Hopefully not, but not from Christians, not among churches. We have our own issues now with the COVID and the mask and not wearing masks. But even if we disagree, stay calm. Listen to the other person. Respond in love. Respond in encouragement. And by the way, if you're struggling with anger, and I did early on in my Christian life, all through college, into seminary, early in our marriage, I did have a quick temper. And it eventually just faded away from my life. And the reason that I give for that is that I drew closer to Jesus. And so if you're struggling with anger, just draw closer to Jesus. Pray, read the Word, stay in fellowship with God's people, get involved in a small group. And just as you draw closer to Jesus, the Holy Spirit is going to transform your heart. He's going to give you that patience. He's going to give you that calmness. You're going to still feel it inside, but you're going to keep it inside. You'll be able to restrain it, and speak words of encouragement. And so that's 7 to 9 minutes of the letter of James, and I will see you next week. And most likely, it'll be next Wednesday after the election. So looking forward to see what God has for our nation. Let's keep praying hard for our nation, and looking forward to seeing you next week. You have any questions, any prayer requests, please message me, and have a wonderful, blessed weekend.